Hey everyone, welcome to my next video. So we now know that Bran can change the past, but it's not quite that simple. Of course, he's the reason Hodor is the way he is, and we just saw him do it, but this is not an event that changed. It's always what was, it's the history of the current world, basically. So what I want to talk about today is what Bran may have set in motion in the past that we'll see in the future, meaning that Bran can change something in the past that we already know happened and is history or legend, but the physical change has not yet occurred in this timeline. And we'll see it in later episodes or seasons. So hopefully everyone was able to follow that. Let's go ahead and dive into the number one event I believe we will see Bran directly influence. And that event is Rhaegar Targaryen's decision to become a warrior, which arguably leads to Robert's rebellion and the death of the Starks. So despite knowing the terrible consequences, Bran will have to make the decision to set in motion the events that will lead to the death of his family. He'll lose his father, his mother, his brother, cause his own paralysis, and potentially lead to the death of his siblings depending on what happens this season and in the future. So why do I think this? Well, it's an event that we don't know a lot about. All we really know is that Rhaegar had a sudden change in his mindset. He was a bookish child, so much so that people made fun of him for it, and they worried that he would grow up soft. And then one day he just decided to become a warrior supposedly because of something he read. Now, if Rhaegar did grow up with a love of education and learning, and enough time passed that it was a trait that people worried about, then it's safe to say he read a lot of stories in history. Especially being royalty, he would have had access to the best education money could buy with world-class instruction. And in a world where only one copy of a book exists because there's no printer or internet, the Crown Prince is most likely going to have access to that information. So it's more than reasonable to assume that he should already be familiar with the legends of this world, that he should know about Bran the Builder and dragons and the Last Hero, the White Walkers, the Long Night, all of that. So if he's been well read for several years, why would something that he read suddenly change his mindset so drastically over everything else? Now, it's believed that this scroll could be about old Valyria and potentially a Targaryen, but, again, he's read the histories, he should know the crazy stories of Targaryens swallowing wildfire to try to bring dragons back to life. So wouldn't something like a vision have a greater impact on his mindset? Wouldn't, a visit from Bran be a better catalyst to suddenly wanting to become a warrior? Now, we do have little hints that Bran may be trying to influence Rhaegar throughout his life, and I'll give a couple scenarios. The first one is the House of the Undying in the books. That's the building Daenerys runs to at the end of Season 2, but in that house in the books she gets a vision of her brother Rhaegar. He's with his newborn son Aegon, and he says that he is the Song of Ice and Fire, he is the prince that was promised. But then he looks up and he sees Dany, or at least he seems to, it's almost like he's looking through her, and he says that there must be one more, that the dragon has to have 3 heads. Now, we don't know if this vision is real or not, but we do know the Red Wedding was hinted at in the books, and that turned out to be a true vision of the future, so this could be a true vision of the past, and Rhaegar looking for something that isn't there, or that he thinks that he heard or saw, could be evidence that Bran is, talking to him. Now, another event where we could see evidence of Bran trying to influence Rhaegar is the Tournament of Harrenhal. Now, this was a big tournament with all the lords of Westeros gathered together, and Rhaegar was said to have been unstoppable. He beat a number of major players, including Sir Arthur Dayne, the Sword of the Morning, and Barristan Selmy, who was said to have been the best with the lance at that time. So, tournaments are not something that Rhaegar did often, so what made this one so special, and why was he so determined to win it? Well, the rumor's always been that Rhaegar wanted to call a council to remove his father from power, and that he was using this tournament as an excuse for this purpose. However, if that was his plan, he threw it all away when he crowned Lyanna the Queen of Love and Beauty, and that was not a smart move, because it offended the Warden of the North and House Baratheon, not to mention insulting his wife and the Dornish. That's not a good way to build a coalition. In the books, we have the perspective of other characters to help show us that things might be fishy with Rhaegar. When Cersei meets him, she says that he seems wounded and that she'll heal all his hurts when they're married. Now, this could just be Cersei starstruck, and Rhaegar always does have a sense of depression about him, but it could also be a hint that he's upset about something at the tournament. And he does say to Jaime as well that he did mean to have a council called to make changes, but that it does no good to speak of the past. In A Storm of Swords, Barristan Selmy also says that there was always that sense of melancholy around Rhaegar, and his direct quote is a sense of doom. So where am I going with all this? Well, basically Rhaegar is a character everyone in the story with the exception of Robert Baratheon seems to like, or at least they believe is honorable. Even Ned Stark doesn't really hate him. And Rhaegar is someone who loves to read, he loves his harp, he's beloved by the people, and we know he's fond of his wife, yet his whole life is influenced by this prophecy and by this thing that he read, supposedly. First for himself and then for his son. But isn't plunging the realm into war by stealing Lyanna a terrible way of going about this thing that's influenced your whole life? We get different views of the event, of course, from different characters, so it's hard to say what the exact mindset really is. But the point is, getting thousands of people killed and shattering the unity of the Seven Kingdoms is not a good idea, especially if you know that a period of darkness is coming. So could someone on the outside be guiding Rhaegar? That would seem to be the case. And the sudden and near instant change in his character, wanting to become a warrior one day suddenly, the sense of doom about him, all of that has sprinkles of what happened to Hodor without the mind frying, of course. And a peaceful and united Seven Kingdoms would seem to make more sense, but that doesn't seem to be the path that's needed for the prophecy to be fulfilled, and we know this now because of the story and the show. And there's no way that Rhaegar could know all that on his own. But we know that if he removed the Mad King from power and everything was peaceful, then you would have no Jon Snow. Daenerys would not go across the sea to learn how to lead. As a woman, she would not be given these chances as a princess in the court. So, not to mention leading to the events of the birth of the dragons, which is crucial, she also needs to learn how to fight with the Unsullied and the Dothraki and all of that. So, while Rhaegar could be trying to do the right thing on his own, maybe someone on the outside like Bran is whispering in his ear and telling him, hey, you have to do this instead, because that's what needs to happen to win. And really, I hope this is something that happens, as it would make for a great story arc. The immense weight of Bran and Rhaegar having to make the very difficult decision to set in motion the events that will lead to so much death and pain, it could be the reason the Three-Eyed Raven is showing such specific things to Bran. Lyanna and Ned's childhood, the creation of the Walkers, the Tower of Joy, showing him, yes, you can influence the past with Hodor, but that this is the path you need to follow, you can't change it, and you're going to have to make these hard choices. It's just your destiny to do it. So what do you guys think? There are a few problems here and there with this theory, but hopefully it's fun and makes you think. Is it crackpot or is it plausible? Can you think of any other sudden changes in the characters we've seen, or events that could possibly be evidence of Bran's influence? Leave me a comment below and we can discuss some other theories about Bran. I am saving a few for other videos. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like and subscribe for more content, and feel free to follow me on Twitter or Twitch now. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.